All right, everyone, time to analyze a few polls here. You can link in the description. I won't archive it because it's RCP, so it's just a rolling aggregate of polls. And there's a lot of good shit there. It shows Biden's extremely wide disapproval gap. By the way, it's very interesting in a side analysis here. His approval is at about its soft low point, which I identified last year. That is around 40 to 42 points is sort of a soft floor for him, below which it's difficult to penetrate further, and he's only done that once. That was, during some real difficult times in his presidency, economically as well as socially. He's getting back towards it, but he's in that holding pattern, but his disapproval has cracked its old holding pattern by several points. It's shot right through it, which leads me to believe that, his approval could break the floor at any time. That's called the danger zone when you get down to that low of approval and that high of disapproval. It's come uncoupled, in other words. The old holding pattern no longer makes sense for the disapproval rating, and I'm not 100% sure why. I don't actually know exactly which group has decided to abandon him most recently. I'm thinking maybe people on the left because of the budget deal. I'm thinking that the hard left may have decided, he didn't get everything that he wanted. Those damn Republicans got slight cuts to a couple of things when Biden has lost, which it's not true, but as long as they're disapproving of Biden, it's still a good day. Just don't expect them to flip over and become Republicans. It's probably the commie wing of the party. I would like to point out, though, a truth that some people are pretending is still up in the air. Donald Trump has effectively sewn up the GOP nomination absent any shenanigans. If he's not incapacitated, and he doesn't die, and the Uniparty doesn't manage to literally drag him out of the Mar-a-Lago in the dead of night kicking and screaming or something like that, Donald Trump will be the nominee. And even if the Unipartyists were to arrest him, put him on in front of a kangaroo court in the orange jumpsuit and everything, and find him guilty of sin, and they were to put him in a jail cell, which logistically isn't necessarily even constitutionally possible because of the existence of the Secret Service, etc. Even if they were to do that, he probably running from a jail cell in total radio silence, he might end up being the nominee. I'm not convinced that it would stop him. I think that right now they've almost abandoned the primary system in hopes of, he's 74, maybe he just fucks off under the wheels of a bus and dies of a stroke or something. And I'm thinking they're looking more forward to, fortifying the general election. By the way, since YouTube removed its TOS with regards to questioning 2020, does that mean that we can preemptively challenge 2024 and say, hey, there might be shady things going on? It could occur now, couldn't it? It's like the 2000 election was never in question. No weird ballots ever existed in that one. In 2016, half the country wasn't convinced that Russia bought the election off. In 2020, honk, fair, 82 million votes, most 10 scoops of ice cream and stuff. Are we thinking it's at least possible? And the primary process is always rigged. By the way, the primaries don't have to be fair. I hate to tell you this, everyone out there. Trump fans, DeSantis fans, even fucking goddamn JFK Jr. fans. The primaries don't have to be fair. They are a corporate-run complex that loosely associates with some federal laws, but has wide latitude to do what they want. For example, the Democrats shifting around the order in which the states do their primaries because they're not sure that Joe Biden will get a particularly great result from Iowa or New Hampshire, and so they used racial demographics as an excuse to make it South Carolina instead. Oh, you mean that state where Biden is more widely approved of? Wow. Oh, they want that state to go first to buff up his numbers in the subsequent contests a little bit. I note that the Republicans aren't fucking around with their primary order. Very, very strange. Interesting. And their leadership is fucking Mitch McConnell, Ronna McDaniels, and Kevin McCarthy. Not any of them which particularly like Donald Trump. But absent some sort of shenanigans, or an act of Congress nullifying his eligibility, and even on a write-in campaign, he'd probably get 30, 40 million fucking votes just to tell the truth. Biden wins in a clean 50-state sweep, but the people have officially repudiated the GOP uniparty at that point. Absent that or a health problem, I think he can't lose. Look at the polling. Look at the latest polling. He's up by 30 points in Nevada. Now, that's a single poll, not an aggregated scatter shot, but it would be real difficult to have a 30-point outlier, so we're going to assume it's above 20. We've got good aggregation for New Hampshire, Iowa, and South Carolina, although for South Carolina, less recent polling. For New Hampshire, rather. He's up, respectively, by about 20 points in all of those states. If you win the first 4 contests, going into Super Tuesday, it's no longer going to be possible for anyone else to really mount any form of defense. Clean sweeps of the first 4 states don't really happen. It looks like Donald Trump might be one of the very small number of candidates to pull it off. Remember, in 2016, Donald Trump lost Iowa to Ted Cruz by a couple points, which did deviate from polling, although not by an insurmountable margin, I would point out. And he, to the point where he crassly said, well, maybe I shouldn't even run. Maybe I should just call it quits. And of course, then he won the next 3 states, and the rest, and 7 on Super Tuesday, and the rest at that point was history. So people were still holding on after Super Tuesday. By that point, you knew what was going to happen. I know what's going to happen in the GOP nomination unless there is some outside subversive force perturbing it, or unless there is a health problem. I don't think that even a stellar debate performance, which Donald Trump may not show up to the debates at all, even a really great debate performance by, let's say, DeSantis or one of the also-rans like Nikki Haley. If Nikki Haley knocked it out of the park and rose to 10 points, I'd say, oh, look, it's Kamala Harris 2.0. You remember, that was the only reason she was briefly considered viable. I had people up and down swearing to me, Kamala's going to be the heir apparent. Hillary Clinton has chosen her, quite clearly. Well, you were wrong now, weren't you? That primary process was cut and dry, too. From day one, it was, hey, Biden is probably going to be the nominee because nobody else is rising up to the level necessary in a fairly packed field as well to challenge him. You got two people in the double digits other than Biden. The writing was on the wall. Although he had to struggle quite a bit longer for that sort of, you've locked it in moment than Donald Trump did. Donald Trump effectively locked it in on Super Tuesday. With the Democratic primaries in 2020, you had to wait a few contests further. You needed more results before you really truly knew. And of course, everyone is holding their bated breath like, well, at his age, Biden could just fucking topple off of the banister tomorrow and fucking die or be incapacitated, like he did the other day at the Air Force Academy, tumble-turding down. When old people fall down, they can break bones, It can be a problem. Hip recovery is no fun when you're in your 80s, but the Democrats want to run him again and think that he will actually be able to serve for an additional 4 years. I don't think so. Hell, if Trump were running for the first time now, I'd vote for him. But if he ran for re-election and he was 82 years old, I'd have second thoughts and say, well, you're kind of handing political chaos as an arrow in the quiver to the liberals. You kind of are doing that. They're going to castigate your party for being stupid enough to put in someone so old. Nonetheless, they have no problem with Joey running, even though he has clear-cut health issues. So yeah, at this point, I know it's a long way out. Yeah, something weird could happen. It's going to be real difficult for anyone to surmount the kind of lead that Trump has, especially when a significant proportion of that support is simply predicated on the fact of flipping the uniparty off. So core MAGA plus, hey, let's humiliate the deep state, having conjoined together is about 55-60% of all the Republican Party, which is where Trump is. Who's going to top that, especially in a crowded field where everyone else is sharing the TDS sufferer vote? How does anyone even get to 30, let alone to the position where they have enough delegates to continue after Super Tuesday? I'm just not seeing it. That's about all. Peace out.